Hello everyone, my name is Kristi and I am so excited about this video because I've been wanting to do it for a very long time. I actually wanted to do it last year, but just didn't get to it. But I think that's a good thing because now I have even more books to recommend, and I have a whole bunch of books that I want to talk about that I added to my TBR. So I just recently did a TBR video for Red, White, and June and Picnic in June, and I talked about all these Revolutionary War era books and things I want to read, and I found some more. So I'm going to talk about those today as well. So without further ado, let's get to the books. So first one is Rebellious Hearts by Jody Hedlund, and this one actually starts about 10-12 years before the Revolutionary War kicks off. And what I like about it is because I just feel like there's not a whole lot of books about this time period, and it shows you like what were some of the things that really like sparked it, like kind of got the ball rolling. And in this story, we follow a girl that wants an education, but she can't have one because of the times, you know, the classic story. And she ends up teaming up with a man who happens to be a lawyer, and doesn't really have the best reputation for tons of different reasons, to help this girl that's a runaway basically. And there's kind of like a mystery along with that, and they end up getting tangled up with the British. So they're at this time they're like, are we going to be loyal to Britain, or are we going to like, you know, get caught up in this wave of what's happening in the colonies? And this is their story, so you'll just have to read it and find out. Washington's Lady by Nancy Moser. I actually have the book for this. So this is a story about Martha Washington and what it was like to be George Washington's wife. And it's written in fiction format, so it's, you know, obviously very entertaining. And I love this story so much because I didn't realize what she went through being George Washington's wife, because like he's off fighting all these battles, but she's got to be dealing with all this stuff at home. There were a lot of dangers that happened to her along the way. Like she was not safe just like sitting in her home waiting for her husband to get back from battle. Like there were a lot of things she had to deal with, a lot of decisions she had to make, and she was very, very brave. And I think she's somebody that's, you know, very overlooked in George Washington's story a lot of times. So yeah, I really loved it, and the faith content was so good because there's a lot of things that happened to her that she was like, why God is this happening? And then she came to realize in light of what was going on in the country and the revolution, like maybe this is why, like God had a much bigger plan. So yeah, excellent book. I love this. The Lace Maker by Laura France. I'm just gonna read the description for this because I feel like it says it best, but it says, when colonial Williamsburg explodes like a powder keg on the eve of the revolution, Lady Elizabeth Liberty Lawson is abandoned by her fiance and suspected of being a spy for the hated British. No one comes to her aid to save the patriot noble Renault. So this guy, this patriot guy comes to her aid. A man with formidable enemies of his own. Liberty is left with a terrible choice. Will the Virginia Belle, turned lace maker, side with the radical revolutionaries or stay true to her English roots? This was a real page turner. This was so good. Like it just keeps you, like once you get into the story, you just don't want to put it down. That's all I'll say about that. The Belle of Chatham by Laura France. So this one I had the audiobook for, and let me just say, I felt like I was living in the 1700s, like listening to this book. I just felt like it was this like total immersive experience, like the way it was written, and it just, I just felt like I was there. And it takes place in New Jersey in 1777, which at that time is like kind of a hotbed for the Revolutionary War. Like there's a lot of things are happening. There's torn family relations in this book. So the main character's name is May. She falls for a Patriot officer, and her sister ends up falling for a British officer. So there's just a lot of things going on with that. the romance was so good, and the ending was really surprising and wonderful. I really, really loved it. Oh, and I just want to pause and say that, like, I can't remember exactly all the like trigger warnings, but in any war book, you know, it's kind of like you just want to expect, like, there may be some talk of like wounds and things like that, but I don't really remember any of them being too terrible. Although in the Belle of Chatham there is some talk of like scalping. Nothing is on page or anything like that, and there's a little bit of talk of wounds from battle, but it's nothing graphic, nothing that I couldn't handle. So just wanted to let you know about that. Johnny Tremaine by Esther Forbes. So this is a classic. I actually read this when I was probably 13 or 14 years old. They had us read it in school. I didn't remember anything about it. So this year I decided to listen to the audiobook to get a refresher. And this is another book that just makes you feel like you're living in the 1700s. Like, I just feel like it's just like a really immersive experience. And it's about a boy that is 14 years old. He's a silversmith, and he gets a severe hand injury that ends up ending his career, and he ends up joining the Sons of Liberty, and he's like delivering messages and witnessing really pivotal events in American history, like the Boston Tea Party and Lexington Concord. So he's just like, he's right in there. So it's like you get to experience the revolution through a teenager's eyes, which is just really, really fantastic. Spark of the Revolution by Megan. So we're gonna go with Soya, okay? And if anybody out there knows like actually how to pronounce her name, please let me know. Anyway, this is about a girl that comes from England because her mother died over there and her father lives in Boston. So she travels with her brother on a boat to join her father. He is a very loyal British citizen, even though he lives in Boston, and he's trying to work with the British to keep selling their tea. So this takes place around the time of the Boston Tea Party. The complication that happens for this main character is that she ends up meeting a patriot who she's very, very attracted to, and she keeps like having encounters with. So there's a lot of drama that happens because there's obviously a familial split down the middle. So this one was excellent. I loved it so much. You should definitely check it out. The Gentle Rebel by Gilbert Morris. So this just brings back such nostalgic memories. I read this book when I was 14 years old, okay? So this was like one of my first experiences ever with Christian fiction, and I loved it. I need to reread the story. I don't really remember anything about it, but I just remember loving it so much. Like, I was so into it. I couldn't put it down. It's the 4th or 5th book in his series, but honestly, you can read it on its own. Like, if you just want to pick it up and read it to get a taste of the American Revolution, you can totally do that. But basically, this is like Gilbert Morris's retelling of the girl, Deborah Sampson, I believe her name is. She was a real person, and she dressed up as a man and joined the army, joined the American Revolution as a soldier, and ended up falling for one of the officers. So this is just a wonderful, beautiful love story. I love the way he did this. I really do need to reread this, but yeah, it's just wonderful, and I highly recommend. Like, his writing is so good. Like, I can't believe like a dude was that good at writing romance. You know, it's so funny. Freedom's Light by Colleen Coble. And okay, I'm just warning you, this book is unputdownable. At least it was for me. It's like, she's normally like a suspense, like a romantic suspense author, and then she like took that sort of like style and like put it in a history novel. And oh my gosh, like, this book was so good. It was like, okay, and also I have to warn you too that some of these characters are just nuts. Like, the villain is like nuts, like crazy, and the main character's sister is kind of nuts too, and she makes a lot of very poor decisions, but I'm telling you, it made the story so highly entertaining, like all these poor decisions, and I was like I was I need to know. So basically what it's about is there is a lighthouse keeper named Hannah, and she marries this guy who, you know, is nice, but she's not like really in love with. Like, anyway, that's kind of irrelevant, but he ends up going and fighting off in the Revolutionary War, and he's killed very, very quickly. And so she's left to kind of like tend the lighthouse herself. And one night there ends up being a shipwreck, and the captain of the ship is the only one to actually survive, go figure, and he washes up on shore. So she kind of like nurses him back to health, and he's basically a pirate, and they're in the middle of this revolution, and they're trying to figure out like where their loyalties lie. Romance ensues. There is a lot of drama in this book. That's all I have to say, because I feel like it's not even, the drama doesn't even really come from the main girl. It's like from the sister, like she causes all the drama. But like I said, highly, highly entertaining and unputdownable. So, so good. Okay, now for my favorites. Out of all of the books on this list, this one is my absolute favorite. I just read it and I love it so, so much. I want to get the next one in the series, even though it takes us out of the time period of the Revolution. I just love this topic. I loved how this book was written. I loved the pacing. It was great. So I want to keep reading. So it's called Ring of Secrets by Rosanna M. White. And this is the story of the Culper spy ring that Washington set up in New York. And there's another book I'm going to talk about later about this subject that I want to read, but this book is specifically about a woman that is helping the spies. She's like gathering information and like giving it to one of the spies. And she goes to balls and she pretends like she's really stupid, and the officers just like spill their guts to her because she's really pretty. And the complication starts to happen when there's this one guy that starts to be like, I think this girl is much smarter than she's letting on. And yeah, so it was just so good. I loved all the characters. I loved everything that happened. Like I said, I love the pacing. It was so good. It was so, so good. So of all the books, this is the one I recommend the most. Well, that one and probably The Gentle Rebel, but this one, I loved it so much. It was so, so good. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about some new books that I have on my TBR. So if you are interested, maybe you can add some of these as well. Sophie's War by Avi. I don't know, she doesn't have a last name. Avi? I don't know how you say that. It's spelled A-V-I, but it's about a girl that witnesses the execution of Nathan Hale. He's an American spy and wants to do whatever she can to help the American cause. She ends up becoming a maid in General Clinton's home. So right there, I'm like, that's all I need to know. And I heard that this is like a real page turner as well. I feel like any spy book, like a book where there's like espionage, is usually a page turner, because it's like they could get caught any second. There's just like so much going on. So I actually saw that book because Cheryl from Candlewick Library was talking about it, and I just got a notification that my hold at the library is ready, so I can go pick it up today. I'm really excited. The Petticoat Spy by Elva Cobb Martin. So this one, I was really excited to see that for whatever reason with my Audible subscription, they're letting me listen to this one for free. So I get a free audiobook. And this one is about a girl whose parents are murdered by the British, and her Charlestown plantation is burned, and she seizes her only option for escape, a desperate leap into the Cooper River. She'll do anything to survive and get revenge. So based on the title, I'm guessing she becomes a spy. So that one sounds really fun. So now for some nonfiction books I want to check out. George Washington's Secret Six. Oh, I forgot to write who it's by. Oh, by Brian Kilmeade and Don Yeager. So this is George Washington's Secret Six, the Spying That Saved the American Revolution. So this is a nonfiction about the Culper Ring. So like that whole story, the Ring of Secrets, was about that whole spy ring really happened. And it says, when George Washington beat a hasty retreat from New York City in August 1776, many thought the American Revolution might soon be over. Instead, Washington rallied, thanks in large part to a little-known top-secret group called the Culper Spy Ring. He realized that he couldn't defeat the British with military might, so he recruited a sophisticated and deeply secretive intelligence network to infiltrate New York City. So yeah, I would love to hear the true story about what happened with all that. Next one is Heroes of 1776 by Neil Gorsuch and Janie Nietzsche. Not really sure how to say that name. It says, dive into the stories of ordinary people willing to do extraordinary things, from iconic figures like Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, Ben Franklin, and Paul Revere, to lesser known revolutionaries such as Caesar Rodney, Thomas Paine, and Mary Catherine Goddard. These great men and women risked all they had, their property, freedom, and ultimately their lives, to secure a better life for their children and grandchildren. So yeah, it's just fun to be able to read about all the acts of heroism in the war, you know? I love that. So you guys know I've been talking a lot about the movie Young Washington. I am so excited about that movie. My husband and I did get tickets for opening night on July 3rd, so yay! And something really exciting, my good friend Richard Lim has a podcast called This American President, and he actually interviewed the co-founder of Angel Studios, the people that made this film. The guy is named Benton Crane. And so I'm gonna link that video below. I hope you guys go see it, because one of the things he's talking about in this interview is how if you get your tickets early, that actually sends a signal to the movie theaters like, hey, this is like almost selling out, this is selling a lot of tickets, we need to open up more screenings, like we need to open up more screens. So the movie will just do so much better. And he has some really, really exciting things to talk about in this interview as far as like the future of patriotic film. So if you guys are interested in that sort of thing, you should definitely check it out. Oh, also, my friend Richard is writing a book. Actually, I believe it's already written. It's gonna come out in October. And it's all about George Washington, and it's called Refusing the Crown. And it just is an in-depth look at how extraordinary George Washington really was during this time period to become not just another king. So the fact that he rejected that and was like, no, we're gonna do presidents here. We're not gonna just have more royalty. That was absolutely extraordinary. It just shows like what amazing character he has, and I'm sure there's so much more to it. So this book is definitely on my TBR. I can't wait for it to come out. I'm probably gonna talk more about it like after I get it and read it. So stay tuned for that. Okay, one last thing, you guys. I talked about this book, The Hercules of the Revolution, Peter Francisco, his story, and I was like, I don't know. So basically, I'm just gonna do a very short run through. He actually happened to be like outside under the window listening to Patrick Henry's speech, and those words, give me liberty, give me death, inspired him so much that he felt like he had no choice but to go and fight. And on top of that, there's this girl that he was completely in love with, and she was like wealthy, and he was never ever going to be able to marry her. So he was like, if I don't go fight, then this is never going to happen. But if I do, I have a chance to be able to like own property someday. I could actually be free. I could actually own property someday, and then like maybe this girl, I'll actually have a chance with her, kind of thing. And so I thought, I was like, I don't know if he actually married this same girl that he like went off to fight for. And I started reading it, and I was like, okay, I gotta know. I skipped to the end. He marries that same girl Does that not sound like a movie? That's like the most romantic thing I have ever heard. And obviously, like, I checked Google too. I was like, I mean, I know it's in a book, but I was like, did this really happen? Or is this guy like making that up? Because are you serious right now? That is so romantic, so amazing that he like fought this war. He did like all these brave things. And there's so much more to the story. And so I can't wait to read it because I'm like, I gotta know, like, how did they fall in love? Because like in the very beginning, she's like, she's not like into him at all. I want to know, like, were they writing letters? Like, how did this happen? Like, they ended up getting married. Like, I want to know. So if you guys are interested in this sort of thing, this is like a nonfiction story, but this guy wrote it in sort of like a novel format, like to make it a little bit more entertaining. So I hope you put this on your TBR because like, wow, I can't wait to find out what happens with this. And like, nobody's ever heard of him. I hadn't even heard of him for just like a few years ago kind of thing. So I don't know. I hope that this guy's story comes more to light because it's pretty amazing. And how many other stories of heroism that are like just truly incredible are like have been buried by like time and whatever, you know, like just history and everything. Like, oh, man, I hope that more people can find stories like this and be able to do something with them because they really truly are inspiring. So anyway, that is enough about all the patriotic things. I'm really excited for this month and for the 250th celebration. Hopefully you guys can go get your tickets to see Young Washington. If you do, let me know. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have an amazing day and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.